What's going on, everybody? My name is Gabe Charest. Welcome back to the channel. I talk about keyboards, synthesizers, plugins, and stuff. The other day I had a question or a comment on a YouTube video that I posted about my wedding gig setup. The comment was something like, hey, you know, that's great and all. Could you show us how everything is like wired together and cabled together? Which is something I don't think about because I've been doing this for so long, but I thought that was actually a pretty cool question and something very easy to tackle. I will say that the way I set up for like a small gig might not be typical for what other folks do. But if you're interested in how my stuff is set up, this video is for you, and you might get some ideas about how to set up some of your own stuff. So let's check out how I set up for wedding gigs. So I've already pulled out the keyboard and I have my monitor speaker over there. So usually the first thing I do is I grab these, which are little pegs that I use, and I put them in these posts right here. Those will hold the music rest when I put it in there. Let's see, next up, probably the sustain pedal. Usually goes down pretty quickly. This might seem obvious, but I'm going to go over the obvious stuff. Goes into the sustain pedal plug on the Nord, at least. Sometimes that might say damper pedal on like another keyboard. And then next we have the power supply. I usually lay down on the left side of my keyboard. So for my setup, I have a mixer that sits on top of the keyboard. Pro tip, if you don't want the mixer to slide around, use some shelf guard material and it'll keep it from sliding around if it's on top of your keyboard. I use this so I can control my own monitor mix. And usually when I put my mixer down, the first thing I do is I turn everything down so there won't be any problems when I power it up. The first connection I make is, so I use something like this. This is basically a pedal cable. I run this from the right out and I plug it into one of the channels up here, usually channel number 2. Because that cable is really short and it fits really nice right there. There's definitely some people yelling at me right now saying, why would you only plug in one channel? And honestly, that's just the way I do it for live setups. I've never used a stereo setup with the Nord, maybe on a bigger gig or something where it's like more beneficial to use a stereo setup, but for like wedding gigs and small gigs, I don't think anyone's ever complained that the piano sounds weird. I know the Nord has a mono setting on it for keyboards. I tried that for a little while and I find that honestly just plugging in one of the stereo channels into the mixer sounds best. For me, you might hate that. The way I use my monitor speaker is I actually just put myself in my own monitor. I don't put the band in my monitor because the gigs I'm playing are small enough where I can hear the whole band. And I usually don't need them in my monitor speaker, but I use my monitor to hear myself clearly. And I use the mixer to just adjust my own volume on stage. I have this Yamaha DXR10 speaker, and then this cable I have here, one side is a stereo cable, and then the other side is a breakout to a tip and a ring. I plug those into here, and I take this stereo cable and I plug it into the phone's output of this mixer. And what this is I now have a level that I can send to that speaker so I can hear myself on stage. It's just for my keyboard going to that speaker. It's for no one else. The red knob here will be sent to front of house. This one is for myself. Set up the wedge like that. At this point, I usually plug in the mixer, plug it in down here, and then I take my power cable and my sustain cable, kind of get them in a little coil, and I put them up behind this post here. Line them up. And now I have the stand on there and my cables are in a coil right there. Nice and clean. I always carry a couple XLRs. What you would do is you would take an XLR cable from the right channel here, and then you would run that to front of house. Then front of house can do with that whatever they want. You set your level here, and then I would turn this up, get my level set, turn this up, get it set, and I don't touch either of these throughout the whole gig. The only knob I turn is this one. This changes the volume of the speaker that's right there. Once these are set, it's up to front of house to get the levels wherever he or she wants them. We need power. There's my power cables. So I'll pull that out, plug it in, and then I'm gonna take this one and go to the Nord here, plug them in like that. Now, some folks might leave their cables like that on stage. I'm not a fan of that. So I usually try to make everything tidy. Also, you know, you don't want to create any trip hazards for anybody. You want it to be safe up there. So I grab all of my cables, pull them out, flip the wedge up, pull them out like this, kind of bend them, get them kind of together like this. And then I usually just shove them like right here in the handle of my amp. And then you kind of tuck everything under there. And now you have a clean stretch of cables from your keyboard down underneath to your power supply. Nobody's going to trip over that unless they're very close. They might trip over that. I would pull that out straight and then maybe gaff tape that if necessary. But yeah, so that's generally how I set up for a small gig, like a wedding band, cocktail hour, solo, something like that on the Nord. If I was setting up for something bigger, it might be a whole different scenario. If you want to know how some of this stuff is set up, please comment, let me know. And if you like the stuff I do, it all comes out of everything sitting on this desk over here. Please ask away, comment. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.